Is this thing on? Is this thing on? I think it is. Hey everybody, my name is Derek and I am the owner, creator, and head silicone slinger. That's what it is. Head silicone slinger. You'd think that at some point I would get this right. I've been doing this for like 6 months now. Head silicone slinger here at Amavidi, where we make silicone toys for adults. Okay, I got through it that time. It's just me tonight. I've got Arie from Xenocat Artifacts, and she'll be joining us here in just a moment. George is out this evening, so it's just me running all of the things. So let me know if the music is too loud, the background music. I'm still trying to figure out all my levels. I lost all my settings, so I'm still trying to figure all the things out. Oh, we got Venus in the chat. Hey, how you doing? I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm having fun doing this. We've been doing this for like 6 months now. I think this is like episode 24 or something like that. So yeah, literally like 6 months. And yeah, we've been having a blast doing this. So yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride. You might have noticed there is a Patreon, and we have a list. Thanks, Ashram 80. I will drop that music down just a touch there. We have a Patreon, and you can support us through that. We have a short but growing and illustrious list of folks who have been supporting us, and we thank them, and we would hope that you would join them. And you can find us at patreon.com/Amavidi. Now, here's the thing, is that you cannot find 18 plus Patreons through the app. You cannot search for 18 plus Patreons through the app. So if you search for Amavidi, you're not going to find it. You actually have to go to patreon.com/Amavidi to find it. So that's the only downside. Yeah, and let me know if the background music needs to go down anymore, and I'll keep adjusting it. So I think with that, I'm gonna see if I can find Arie. I think I've got her around here someplace. And did I find you?
Oh hey!
Hi.
Yeah, I was under the couch the whole time.
Under the couch, yes. Well, yes. Thank you. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Just got done bowling this evening. Was a lot of fun. Did some pretty good stuff. Hit my first 400 series, 150 average. So good day today.
Nice.
We're getting there. That's all dumb luck.
Bowling. I was not expecting that. Yeah, I was like, last night we did our pre-show. And we were going through everything, and you were talking about playing some video games last night. And you started off saying we were playing, and I thought you were going to go the video game route, and you rolled in here with bowling, and I was like, well, that was a left turn I wasn't expecting.
That's about half the throws that I throw too. So when I do get the gutter, that's pretty much the exact same statement I say. So.
Well, again, I wanted to say thank you for joining me this evening. You've been on my list for, well, actually, I think you were on my list during the first iteration of the live stream back, a year and a half ago. And there were things, and second iteration is much better. I'm much happier with the second iteration, but you've been on my list for a while, and so I'm really happy that you have decided to join us.
No, seriously, thank you so much. This is a great opportunity, and we've been checking out the videos and stuff of those as they've been coming out, and I'm so excited to be here. So thanks again, Derek.
Oh, sure. Well, you and I've had a chance to get to know each other. Why don't you take a few minutes and, number one, you kind of tell us a little bit about Xenocat Artifacts, and then everybody asks how did you get started and all that kind of stuff. I'm a little bit more interested in the why. What was it that got you started? Not necessarily how, but the why. What was it that got you started?
So when I was first mulling about the silicone adventures, I was actually working as a assistant manager at a brick and mortar sex toy store. And I'm going to go ahead and just be blunt that my first experience into adulthood and into the sex toy industry was not the best. I actually discovered I'm very allergic to latex and a couple other additives that are in most common toys. And you can imagine that discovering that may have not been the best. So during that time, I was also really interested in wanting to do Hollywood prosthetics, body painting, things of that variety. And I was kind of challenged to try to make my own. And I figured an easy way to do it. I already worked in the adult industry, and I wanted to give it a shot. I tried simple mold making. I did my first block mold, and I think the very first toy we ever made was the Anole, which has now been remastered into the Talos. So it kind of all started just based on a couple interests that kind of merged together between wanting to get into mold making, trying things out. And once I started making sex toys, I never left. I found it really comfortable, and it's fascinating. There's never a dull day at work, and it's really hard to have a bad day at work when you're juggling fantasy dongs. So I think that's kind of where it started, just because the allergies, wanted to get into the body safety, wellness part of it, and just I loved Bad Dragon when I first met them. They're the only fantasy company I knew about at the time, and then my world just got very broadened once I discovered that they definitely aren't the only ones, and that I kind of wanted to see if I can give it a shot too. So it's been great.
Ah, interesting. But you kind of created this category for yourself that, there's a certain way that I would describe it, kind of alien inspired. And my brain goes to Giger, H.R. Giger. And am I off base there?
No, absolutely not. Giger, I hope I'm saying it right, has been a massive influence for me for a long time. I think the first horror film that truly scared the bejesus out of me was Aliens. The concept of the face huggers, how the aliens could move so stealthily, and how they blended in with the environment with the mechanical and the organic, and it was fascinating. And once I got over my fear as a younger child in my adult life now, I'm just actually, that was really, really cool. And I think just any of the Giger stuff has it's got an odd sexuality to it. It's got its own biological methods that it all operates. And I just found it fascinating. And it kind of got my brain thinking in other ways. How would some of our stuff behave if it was going to be alien and not traditionally human? So a lot of our designs kind of incorporate different abilities and stuff like that. So no, Giger, definitely huge inspiration. Huge fan of a lot of Del Toro films, Hellboy, stuff like that. Monster Hunter, I adore most of those things. Big xenophile over here, so
Okay.
Definitely anything odd I love.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Del Toro, so I think we have to go into the one of the stories that we talked about yesterday. Do you want to tell the story about The Shape of Water?
Of course, and this is a great opportunity for me to debunk a little bit about how that whole thing blew up and kind of where it started.
One thing. You've got a cat there. Do you want to introduce your cat?
Yes, that's her little pants speck there. That's my cat, Arie. She is my fur baby. I adore the heck out of her, and I've had her ever since she was about 3 months old. So she was a tiny little jelly bean when I got her. And she is the menace to any color of clothing. She's a total lap cat. So if I've got white pants on, she's got black fur. If I got black pants on, she's got white fur. And the cutest little pink toe bean. So that's my disappearing cat into the curtains. That curtain ledge
all you can see
is that wide.
All you can see is a tail. That's all that's left now. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but...
No, you're good.
Okay.
She, the entire time we did pre-checks with that before, nothing. And she's like, I'm going to go ahead and do the disappearing cat. She's very not graceful. So if we hear a thump, the curtain or the window gap is only about this wide, and I'm surprised she's even standing there. So this could be really fun. So,
okay.
She's not known for her grace.
Yeah. Okay, I apologize. I interrupted. We were
No, you're
talking
good.
about The Shape of Water.
Yes. Now we have The Shape of Window. So, Okay, one of our biggest forays into the fantasy market was, I believe, around 2018, 2019, whenever Shape of Water came out. At that time, we only had maybe 5 or 6 models sculpted. It started with the Annul, then it went to the Kelpie, I think, the Alabaster Cayman. So we kind of had like those out along with our Monarch at the time. And one of those was the Prince. The Prince was actually, please don't out me for this. Nintendo is not nice. Prince was actually based on Prince Sidon from Breath of the Wild, hence the gills and like the little Prince Albert at the top and the piercings down the front. So it was sculpted with that character in mind. So we'll go ahead and get that one out there in the open. We had released that, and it was shortly before Shape of Water came out. So when the movie came out, I saw it and I was like, oh, this is really great. You know, it's a monster love film. The 2 characters are fantastic. I love the act that Doug Jones had portrayed as the asset. Just beautiful movie. So I decided to, back in our Tumblr days, do a special coloration for it. And we maybe made 5. And it's not an easy pour to do. It was like a solid color tip with a piercing with a gold ring split, and then it went into like a 4 or 5 color marble, and then it went into another split, and then it went into a like 3 color fade for the base.
Oh wow.
So it wasn't made with replication in mind. It was just art pieces. We wanted to be like, I liked the movie. I woke up one morning shortly after we put our little teaser out, and someone's like, hey, congratulations on your feature in Gizmodo magazine. And I was like, my what? So, needless to say, it had a very clickbait title, a very, it was very interesting for news outlets to pick up, especially with the film being like ready for a bunch of awards and stuff. They were going up for like a couple Emmys or something like that for like soundtrack, best picture. It was awesome. So needless to say, it went wild, straight up wildfire. I think as of now, I still do get emails. It has been like 3.5, 4 years since all this happened, and I'm still getting emails about the Shape of Water toy. We've been interviewed by GQ, Cosmopolitan, been featured in a lot of stuff, and they have now even ambush interviewed Doug Jones twice while he's been trying to go shopping. And they had also done a live sit-down interview with Del Toro. You can find all of this on YouTube under Shape of Water Dildo Interview. Any verbiage like that will probably take it to it. And it was a very fascinating experience with some of my major role models in the film industry, talking about my work and talking about how Doug Jones didn't want to be remembered for the dildo. That was an unintentional thing, instead of his actual role in the film. And so, yeah, it blew up. So if you Google Shape of Water dildo, it is everywhere. And so most of the articles are talking about how it wasn't accurate to the asset, and that's fair. It wasn't supposed to be. Right. But yeah, shortly after all that went live, I even had a live Cuban translated interview, which was fascinating. I took that in a parking lot in my friend's car. They asked me like 4 questions, and they were like, do you make dildos? Yeah. Was this based after The Shape of Water? Yeah. If you've ever seen the interview, I think that they did with Elijah Wood on the Lord of the Rings, where I think it was like a Swedish interview or something. This guy was asking Elijah, do you wear wigs? Elijah's like, yes. Would you wear wigs? Yes. And then Elijah just lets out this scream of a laugh, and it's one of the funniest other interviews, and it felt very much like that. So I think we ended up making a total of like 50 of them total, when I was still like a 1-person barely shop hosted out of half of a bedroom in my old roommate's house. So it was far larger than we ever anticipated, and it's still plaguing me to this day. So I want to issue a very formal apology again about the unintentional rise to calamity over a merman dick. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, the story itself is hilarious. I mean, there's so many layers to that. But I think it also set you up for the words that come to mind are meteoric rise. And I mean, so that's awesome. There's a lot of good that came out of that. I have to laugh at the interview part because I never thought of myself as somebody who would ever interview people. And I'm learning that there's a skill to it. And there's, how you phrase questions and how you set things up. And, you have to do your research and you have to come in prepared. But you don't want to give away the punchline. It's like, how do you play the straight man to somebody and set them up so that, and my job here is to make you look good as an interviewer or somebody who is kind of hosting the show. And it's something I'm learning. I know, I forgot, I'm not supposed to make this about me. This is supposed to be about you.
No, you're interesting. You're fascinating. You're fine.
No, I have to laugh at that. Those yes/no questions, because that's just kind of like the most horrible questions you could ask.
They asked me a total of like 4 questions, and it was, did you make the dildo? What is it based after? Did you sell it? And it was just like 4 things, and it was very like yes, no, and I would hear them like talk in another language, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm just wondering what the actual subject of that interview was for like the rest of it. So I was expecting to like get the FBI or something at my door when I was done, because it was a very strange interview, and I'm wondering why Cuba. But much appreciated either way. So
yeah. Now, how early on was that in the lifespan of Xenocat Artifacts?
Probably about a year and a couple months into when we were officially an LLC. I think we officially went live like mid 2017. Okay. And I'm going to have to check the actual dates on when The Shape of Water came out, but it was fairly new, and we were just a one-man team on a folding plastic table in a 7 by 10 bedroom. So it was real small at the time.
Yeah. But you're not that anymore.
No, we've grown quite a bit, and we continue to grow. We actually have a big rotating staff that comes in and pours and does like convention scheduling and everything. We've got people in Washington and Illinois, like we got them everywhere. So it's pretty awesome.
Now, how do you work with folks in other states? Are they just working in conventions for you, or are they doing production? How does that work?
A little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Okay.
A lot of our team members work other jobs or things like that, and so we try to maintain a really flexible schedule. And as far as like the local people, they can come in and pour when they need to. That's why we have a diverse and large team. Some of the people out in Oregon and Washington in that area, they do like some online sales for us. They do some of our screen printing for our new bags and all that. They've helped with marketing, balancing numbers. Some of my team members in Illinois just travel exclusively for conventions when my other team members aren't able to. So we've got booth babes and like all kinds of stuff. So just a really diverse crowd, and a lot of us have a bunch of different things we can do. Some are sales specialists. Some just have a bunch of art stuff that I didn't even know that they could do. Some did our 3D printing for us at a time. So yeah, that's kind of how that works.
Gotcha. Since I am the only one running everything tonight, I may not be able to hold questions to the end. So I may be working them in. Usually when Georgia's running the chat, she can like wrangle things for me. Tame had the question, what would you say Xenocat brand is based off of? We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but do you want to kind of expand on that a little bit?
Of course. And it's probably a pretty simple explanation. We just really liked alien stuff and the unusual. I kind of wanted to do a bit of a hybrid of a lot of things. I'm not just into the furry crowd. I'm not just into the anime conventions. I'm not just into the monster flicks and stuff. I kind of like to dabble in a lot of things. So I kind of wanted a genre that could kind of fit a bunch of different communities and a lot of my own interests too. So Xenocat was just alien with a focus on the bizarre. So, and we just really liked the catchy name, and I always like cats. So it's pretty easy there.
Yeah. And Tame, if you want to go back to, the first 5 or 10 minutes of the interview, we get into that a little bit more. So definitely go back and catch the beginning. Now, We're up to, 40 different models now? I think that's what you said?
It's pretty dang close. Some aren't in cycle currently because they're awaiting like remasters. We got a bunch though. We had like a series of Bullet Vibes that came out, or Bullet Vibe sleeves that came out shortly after we opened, probably within the first year and a half. We're in the process of remastering those. We've got eggs, the Cersei lines, strokers, plenty of insertables, lots of squishies. We've even got our little phone holder, which is our crew clutch, and she's there to kind of just like hold up your stuff. So yeah, I think we're close to about the 40 mark. I need to get like the specifics, but we've got quite a bit. I have no trigger discipline when it comes to just popping out designs when they come to mind and getting them in silicone because I literally can't wait. So we're going to be working on like a remaster schedule, getting the rest of those pushed out. We've done a lot this year though already. And yeah, pretty excited to get those out. It's overdue. Skills have changed a lot over the years, so I want to kind of update that and show people kind of what we can do now.
So you're going back and remastering all of your models?
As many as we can. There might be some that just weren't very popular from the start, and unless I kind of reinvent them, they might just get lockered and might come out just for a month at a time. So we can keep certain molds in circulation. But yeah, that's kind of what we're working with the remasters. I think our next one that's due is our Cayman. It's a classic. It's an easy remaster for us to go ahead and do. And yeah, the new designs have been really awesome with the new details and textures. And like, I've got my own 3D printer set up here now. I'm no longer outsourcing. I can kind of control those variables and get sizing the way I want. So that's the other reason we're pushing for remasters is some of our legacy sizing, such as like the Volguard, the Taraz, the Barghest, were very, very close in size. They were maybe a difference of a ½ inch in vertical length, which for us is a little confusing when we're bagging and listing, especially if we're listing just by photos. And I wanted to get like an accurate size scale kind of rolled out. So, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Ishtar, the new designs are amazing. So that's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Frost had a question. How did the Cersei line come about? Are you planning on create more models like that?
Absolutely. So I think we've teased it once or twice that we wanted to do a more like medical looking or rubberized like suit plug-in apparatus if we're thinking sci-fi lore. So think of like Evangelion or things like that where it's part of your biosuit. It's meant to mimic the organic version of it. So it's a safer alternative in our lore. So the Cersei line kind of came out just because I wanted to do something external because not everyone wants internal play only. So it started out with the flat panty liner kind of shaped Cersei stowaway. So that was meant to sit in the underwear, flush against the body, which is why it's very flat and wide. And I actually had done the measurements on standard panty liners to kind of get a really good idea of how that would fit against the body. Once we had released the flat one, I was like, well, let's do one that's just internal. Because some people might want something more discreet to wear around when they're kind of like at the market. Or, just wanting to have like a fantasy obby position kind of thing. And then we wanted to do the best of both worlds, so we kind of slapped one on top of the other. And now we have the Symbiote, which is by far our most popular model. And so we definitely have new designs coming out like that. I got to get back on sculpting those because we've had a lot of remasters, and I'm the only person that does a lot of the 3D printing, print finishing, and design work. So it'll be neat. It's going to be very... The Cersei was focused on bumps and like little spines. The new one is going to be focused on more ribbing and waves. So should be kind of cool.
Okay. Yeah, one of my notes here was that you do all of the printing and finishing. And I know what that is like. Tell me how you feel about that.
Oh boy. It's my favorite. So there is a catharsis to getting that perfect finish, and everything is still handmade. I can never guarantee perfection or that I even have the patience to really get that tiny, tiny little mole in a place that sandpaper doesn't even fit. But I do my absolute damnedest to make sure that all of our models, especially with these remasters, are coming out crisp, clean, beautiful. They're a lot easier to mold now that I've learned some more things. Hand finishing process takes a lot. I've told everyone in the workshop, mistakes happen. Things are totally fine. I said, but if I ever catch you playing lightsabers with my plastic hand finished models, we're done. We're done. So, it's been great. It typically is a multiple day process to even hand finish on top of, a print that can take anywhere between 18 hours for a tiny little thing to 48, longer than that sometimes. So it's a lot of risk to get something perfect on the first go. So we really try to just take our time and get it all taken care of. So.
And are you using FDM or SLA?
We're using PLA. So we're doing an FDM printer. I am looking into getting into resin printing soon. I've got a couple really good leads, and now that I have a new facility that I can actually do this, our workshop does not have windows or a way to vent, so this is going to be done out of my home. The environment's changed though, so I can actually go ahead and get on that. I'm looking into like an XL printer. I'm pretty excited because I think that's really going to just take a lot of the extra polishing out of my schedule, so I can go ahead and get on things a little bit better. It'll be nice.
Yeah. I go back and forth on which one I like best. Sometimes I'm like, those resin printers, sometimes it's like, when they're great, but then when they fail and you just can't get a good print out of them, there's just nothing more frustrating. But PLA, it'll print every time. You may not like it. It may not be the perfect print, but it's going to print every time. So I go back and forth. So
we've got a couple things that have been printed in resin for some of our smaller stuff, because I do have a friend that does a lot of our local sourcing for resin things. Like our copper mites were done with resin. The new Kaleidine that came out, she's in resin now. Some of our eggs have even been done in that. So like anything like that, we're definitely trying to do that. So
Fiery is checking up on you, making sure you're drinking your water.
I'm drinking my tea, which is practically my water, so I'm being good.
Well, Fiery is also asking about a Xenocat mug, which kind of gets into one of the topics that we wanted to talk about, which was merch. Do you have something coming along that might be a mug? Because that wasn't on my list.
So we don't have any mugs. This is actually a like little metal tumbler that I had gotten from Michael's craft store, and I gave all of our crew members when we met up at Sin City when we were guest of honor back in Vegas this year. Little complimentary mugs. It was like, hey, we did it, guys. This is really cool, and I don't know how in the hell that happened, but we did. And that's just our vinyl sticker that we include with most of our packages on the outside of it. So I just slapped a vinyl sticker on it, but if mugs are ever something interesting that people really want, we can run a limited batch. They're not hard to do. And it'd be kind of cool to get that out there. That thing insulates like crazy. You can have hot tea in it and leave it alone for 2 hours like I always do with my hot tea. So I never get to enjoy hot tea. That's chronic tea drinker problem. And it actually keeps it warm. So it's been a godsend. And I figured I'd bust that out for the podcast today too. So... But as far as merchandise, we've got a lot coming out. We got delayed on it for quite a bit just because our old body pillow manufacturer kind of went under when COVID hit, and we just had a lot of stuff kind of get in the way of that. So we had to do a lot of research, make sure the companies are finding are ethical and that match the expectations, and that we have fulfillment issues. So we actually just placed orders for all 4 of our existing body pillow designs. We had 2 that were released a couple of years ago of Arie and Aether, and they're double-sided 2-way tricot with a vanity zipper. They're awesome. They're like the king-size pillows, so they're about 60 inches tall by like 20 inches wide. Big O things. So you have like a full, almost life-size companion, and it feels kind of like just spandex almost. It's very cool to the touch, so great for summer. We do have our 2 new designs coming out, which is going to be of our other character, Tiramith. She's going to be getting her own stroker. And then we have one of our Lyra, which is actually our original stroker that we came out with. And Lyra is our dragoness. So we've got those. We've got some wall scrolls coming out. You may have seen a teaser or 2 on our Twitter about that. Beautiful artwork done by a talented artist called Givanel. They are amazing to work with, and that's probably the prettiest art piece I think I've ever gotten commissioned. Stunning. So Yeah, that might be coming to a wall near you soon. And we're excited to get that out. That's probably going to be an early January thing, along with the body pillows. We also have enamel pins coming out. So some of you may have already seen our little Erebos pin and our little Aether pin. Those were paired up with the body pillows. But now we've got more. And I wanted to kind of do a little homage to our crewmates, because without them, we couldn't have done this. We couldn't have gotten this big without everyone's help. So we're kind of going down the list, and we've got our next 3 pins coming out now, which are being done by Nay's Pin Club. Really excited to get them. We have Tiramith, which is going to go paired with her body pillow. We have Anenra, which is one of our little black market specialists. He's a great salesperson and awesome booth babe. And then we have our field team leader, which is Nocturne, which is one of our oldest associates, pretty much our little shop foreman at this point, and really spectacular work. Nocturne is the stripe king in the workshop. And so if you've seen any stripes come through, you've probably seen them by Nocturne. So they're going to be really cute. I can't wait to share them.
Awesome. As you were talking, I was kind of making notes and questions that were coming in. One of them was from Lockjaw. Lockjaw was on the live stream last week from Simply Elegant Glass.
Yes.
And if you didn't catch the live stream last week, you should totally go check it out. I mean, the glass, it's so awesome. It's on my bucket list of things. I've got to try it. I had this fantasy that one day I'm going to have this whole studio of, I've got my silicone, I've got my resin, and I've got my metal. Glass is the next one. So,
Going down the checkbox, you're like,
yeah. But Lockjaw had, what was it? Was there a point where you got sort of tired of the attention?
yes. It was pretty obnoxious for quite a hot minute. People were, the DMs especially were fascinating. And a lot of these articles that were doing the copy, like clickbait stuff, they weren't checking in with us or interviewing like some of the other ones did. The ones that did interview with us were really appreciated, and I got to kind of like debunk some stuff and everything. And I'm not going to lie, it was still a really enjoyable process, but it was crazy. Between the phone calls and the constant DMs of, well, if I offered you an exorbitant extra amount of money, could I go ahead and get you to break your terms and condition to get me one of these stuff? And I'm just, at that time, we were a lot younger and a lot like newer of a company. And I was like, I can't do that. So it got to be quite a bit. I got emails, and I even got like weird stuff to my private email, which I don't know how they got that. Yeah. So I was just like, all right. So, yeah, it was a lot. And then a lot of people being like, oh, you're a degenerate, you're terrible. And I was like, well, it's c'est la vie. But, just got to act like a duck, let it go off your back. And it was a lot of fun, though. Still one of my favorite stories I think I ever get to tell people. And actually, to this day, I still have Del Toro and Doug Jones' private publicist information. So I've got like a direct hot link to bug them and ruin their day even more if I ever really wanted to. Honestly, it's a goal of mine at some point. If Doug Jones, because he does tour a lot of convention circuits, and he was apparently at a local convention a couple years ago. If I ever get the opportunity, I would love to wait in line and have like a coaster pack or something not safe for work. And I want to be like, hey, I am that person. I am so sorry. And here's a drink on me, and I want to give them some coaster packs and stuff like that, and just let them know that that was definitely world's greatest accident. So,
oh jeez, Ben over here talking about me as if I'm the master of all 4 toy elements. No, not yet. I do also want to. I say metal. It's metal casting. I want to get into metal machining as well. I want to be able to turn metal. I have an X-Carve, but it doesn't really do metal very well. So, yeah. There was another one from, let's see. Oh, it was After Dark Creations. Now, here's something that I think is very interesting about these live streams, is that we get so many other makers in here. We've got After Dark Creations. We've got Simply Elegant. We've got Oh, geez.
Made to wear, too.
Yeah, Made to Wear is in here. We've got Frost. We've got Venus. There are so many other makers and folks who are on the creator side that are so supportive. And this is that's the part that is just kind of amazing to me. So, but After Dark was saying, it sounds like we were talking, I think this message came in when you were talking about how small you were back in 2017 and you first getting started. Sounds like how your shop is now. Okay, let me rephrase because I'm getting this. After Dark is saying, sounds like my shop now. Hopefully I can grow as big as both of you guys. Aw, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Ashram saying, vaulting old designs and release them later in several years as Xenocat classics. That could be interesting.
That might not be a bad idea. We might have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you so much. I've heard of XEA so much among toy Twitter, so I couldn't miss the stream for the world. Seriously, thank you so much.
Oh, who was it? I think it was Venus. Came in. One of the first comments was that Xenocat was their first toy.
Oh, oh man. So I hope it's treated you well, and I hope that it's still kicking and doing good. That's always like a super awesome compliment to hear. We've actually been able to help a lot of people, especially at like the convention scenes, kind of pair them with their first creation. And we've got a lot of different sizes and stuff that were like hopefully more beginner friendly. And like, thank you. That's awesome. That's really cool to hear.
Lockjaw, it's always stunning seeing what you all work on. Getting to see your work in person, Dinfer, was so awesome, even if it was pretty brief. I think it's so fascinating how, Lockjaw is fascinated by silicone. And, this is old hat to you and me, and we're like, silicone, it does what it does. And we're fascinated by the glass. And he's like, it's just glass. It just, whatever. And we come from these different worlds. And it's fascinating. We're both kind of like grass is always greener on the other side.
It is.
Yeah. Now, he mentioned Dinfer. Now, do you have any conventions that you're going to be doing in the near future or upcoming?
So as far as confirmed, we were going to do MFF this year. We ended up backing out. We've got a couple staff members that are out currently due to family-related incidents and things like that. So I wanted to give everyone a bit of a breather by the end of this year, and so we ended up opting for a smaller convention, which is going to be Painted Desert FurCon. That's going to be around New Year's weekend. It's going to be in Arizona. Really small con. I think we're the only adult vendor there for now. And so I'm probably going to be flying out with some of our stuff, maybe a 1 or 2 person team. So we've got PDFC coming up, and then we're also looking into, FWA. And we typically have done Denver, FWA, BLFC, MFF. I've done FurCon out in California as well. But it looks like currently we're just going to be doing PDFC, and FWA, I think, is the next one. I'll have to take a look, though, because sometimes we squeeze smaller conventions in with a small team if we can travel. So you can normally find most of that on our websites, and we'll typically be announcing that on Twitter, too.
Okay. Revived Werewolf. What would you say your favorite toy to make has been?
Whew, man, that's tough because there's a lot of different reasons. I like a lot of different designs. We'll touch on
your
some
favorite
really
child.
Oh, that's hard. They're all going to judge me. So I have got to say my current favorites to make, and I can't limit it to one, so I got to do favorites. I'm really enjoying making Kane. The long wiggle toy is super cool. It holds washes like a dream. I'm excited to start doing some fades on it. So I just liked doing the organic kind of colors on him too. I think my all-time favorite one that I've done the craziest stuff to has been our Purra. She's got so many options for customization between the hand-painted eyes, nose, we got the teeth, we've got the tongue that can be faded, the ears. I've done like a cyberpunk version. That one went to the lovely Mish, just one of my favorite people. So I've gotten to do a lot of really funky designs with the Purra. So I gotta say between those two, probably my favorites right now, but it I think my new favorites are every new remaster for a time being. You'll probably notice if I put a remaster out, I'm just like, oh, I got to do all the crazy things to it. So I'm currently in love with Kane, and the Pura is just a total blast to make. So.
Okay. Yeah, that was Revived Werewolf. There we go. Now, let's see. You mentioned this at the very beginning, and we kind of glossed over it, but there was, what was it? It wasn't visual effects. It was special effects makeup. Is that something you've been able to continue to work on, and a skill that you've been able to continue to develop?
So I do still dabble with that quite a bit. I typically will do body painting for friends. I don't do as much of like the brush. I do like a combination of airbrushing and a couple other things. Really, really cool stuff. I wish I had like examples I could show. I might link some maybe through one of the channels when we're done. It's really fun stuff. I do plan on trying to get into like some half masks, things like that, be it out of like a slush cast or even out of silicone. So I want to try to kind of expand my mold making repertoire with that and see if I can get into some more complicated things. Just due to my issues with latex and stuff, I wasn't able to get into traditional theater or like various adhesives. My latex allergy does get relatively severe. I've had even Band-Aids give me like chemical burns if it's the wrong Band-Aid. So got to be kind of careful with that. But yeah, I still definitely do that. I haven't even done my makeup in a hot minute, so it's like the first time I've put on a face in a bit. So, woo. Yeah, it's been fun though, and I definitely do try to keep touch with that if I can.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned the latex allergy, and I kind of spaced on that. That would actually explain a lot as far as the having to go a different route. But it also sounds like you have a lot of different artistic endeavors, not just the adult side, not just the special effects, but there's a lot of things that you're drawing from.
Oh, sorry, did you have some? Sorry,
No, I was kind of leading you towards the artistic side and all of your artistic endeavors.
So currently I am doing a couple different things that I kind of juggle. I do digital art commissions. They're very neon, very like aggressive, hard lines. Kind of cool. I call them like neon graffiti portraits or something like that. So I do some of those. I also do leather working. I'm getting into that currently. So I've done a couple leather collars. If you've been to some of our conventions, you may have seen some of my work. Definitely no artisan in that one yet, but it's been really fun to learn. Definitely really into the hand tooling part. So I like doing a lot of the hand hammered tooling designs. I don't want to do just normal colors. I'd like to do something ornate, something that has a heavier, like darker feel to it while still remaining elegant. So that one I go by Darling Defiant, and you can find that Twitter page, which is very empty. It's up there though. My digital art is under Farcaster Crafts. You can find that one on Twitter as well. The other stuff that I do, I also am doing chocolate covered strawberries. So they're quite tasty, and that's only a local thing. That's just for friends, family, neighbors, and extended. I've catered for a wedding recently, which was pretty cool. I do all kinds of combinations. I'll do like milk chocolate rolled in crushed Oreo with white chocolate drizzle. I do like a white chocolate rolled in crushed graham cracker with a butterscotch drizzle. They taste like a strawberry shortcake bar. I'm going to do some that I'm going to call like Aloha berries or something like that. I have not decided. That's probably a terrible name. That's going to have like dark chocolate with coconut shavings and like freeze-dried pineapple, if I can do that. So I've been playing around with a lot, and a couple of the people here have gotten to try them. They're very tasty. So I like to cook and stuff too.
Ooh. Now what category have you not gotten to work in yet?
So I think we've had this discussion earlier. I do want to try glass blowing at some point. Yeah. It's fascinating. It's something I've watched the show, if you haven't seen it, called Blown Away on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Awesome stuff. They focused on the art, not so much drama, and it was just like, holy cow, there's a weird part of it that almost makes sense that I wanted to see if my hands are lying to me or not, because I'd love to try it. I'd like to do that. I'd like to get into some of the actual like mask making. I really want to do, if you've ever seen like Miss Monster's work, love that kind of stuff. I'm a big like resin mask lover and would like to try that out a little bit too. So I think those are the next two things I might try to dabble with a little bit. So
interesting. Yeah. Glass is on my list. And metal turning is on my list. But there was something else. I don't remember now. It'll come to me eventually.
It will.
Yeah. By the way, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, and I will get them as I can. Inindra? I don't know if I'm going to be able to say that one right. Any new and creative colors coming out soon?
So we're going to probably be doing a couple more like organic looking colors in certain models. It's been a hot minute since we've actually focused on what the actual model's store color would look like. So like its signature colors. So I'm probably going to be working on some of those. Like the cane has the signature color called Splice. I'd like to try to elaborate in that kind of direction for a couple things. I definitely enjoy the fantasy brighter colors. At the same time, I want to bring a little bit more love to the organic colors without being viscerally creepy or too humanly realistic. I'm trying to get things of like, if this alien was real, what would it look like?
Right.
And so I think those are some of the ones we're looking at. Like our Dagmar is going to look really, really pretty. It's the faux ovipositor design we released. It's actually a giant Drider character, and she is known for her specialty imports of silk within her artisan clan that you can only find in certain areas. And that's actually where the crew uniforms in lore come from. It's a special deal or trade that we've organized with the kind of Drider commune up there. So like we're going to be working on a lot of stuff like that.
Lockjaw has an invitation for us. So we've both got an invitation to come out and play with glass.
I'll bring berries and silicone stuff if you want. Definitely would be like so thrilled to be able to do that. So seriously, thank you for the invitation. You might be hearing from me. I'm not joking.
You're a little bit closer than I am. So, but have you worked with Near Clear?
We have. I've also been working directly with a Reynolds representative on it too, just kind of giving feedback on some of our takes with it. It is a fussy material, gorgeous results, but I've noticed it's got a different, it's got a little bit different of a like tear strength. Its firmnesses don't really line up most of the time with the firmness that's advertised if you're comparing to something like EcoFlex or Dragon Skin. Typically it runs a little bit firmer, and it also, when you degas silicone, typically if you're working between like 0030 to 0050, which is our softener medium firmnesses. Kitty!
She always has to make an appearance.
Oh, she's going to be a little cat boa. You're going to have like the world's swankiest boa. Between those two firmnesses, silicone typically in the vacuum chamber will rise and fall to at least twice its size in there. So we only have about half the cup volume to work with. Near Clear likes to take that and say, well, that's a joke. We're going to go and push that further. So we have to really limit our batch size to that. And it's really prone to bubbles and it's fussy. But we do kind of want to play with it a little bit more. And we've been working again, like pretty hand in hand with our distributor to see if we can kind of help develop the product further, give them good feedback. Near Clear, I found sometimes will yellow a little bit over time. I don't know what that time limit is. Neither does the supplier because it's such a new product. So it's cool though. Like some of the pours that we have done with it, just chef kiss. I made an egg that looked like it was just an amber specimen. Like I really want to play with that more. So
yeah, I always give myself expansion of 2-3 times for all of my stuff, and Near Clear 4, 5, 6 times. It's just going to expand all over the place, which I don't quite understand how it's doing that. It's just...
I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of a weird thing. So
yeah. Ashram, out of all the models we have, which would you like to see made in glass? Ooh, that would be...
Ooh. So I'm trying to think as far as, like, I'm a practical brain person when it comes to toys for me. So I'm like, if I was going to have one made out of glass, what would like translate best to the glass texture? Again, I think cane would be awesome because if you like stretchers or like depth trainer toys, I think that could really be done and doable and would probably look stunning in glass. I would also really like to see something like our Orin, which is our new like Dryad Spriggan kind of Silver Fox character that we brought out. I'd love to see something like that done in glass, maybe, just because it's got a lot of beautiful texture. It's got that kind of natural bark texture on the front with like some leaf stuff. I think seeing that in glass would be stunning. So, or a Coppermite, because they're too stinking cute, and a little paperweight Coppermite in glass would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if you could take, this is, I might have to get in touch with Lockjaw about this. If you could take a block of graphite and machine it with an X-carve in the shape of a Coppermite and then melt glass into it.
That would be really fascinating, and I've seen similar before. I wonder if that's doable.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask our resident expert on that, though.
Yeah, graphite would be soft enough to be milled by a X-carve, and X-carves are inexpensive enough that you could get to it. Anyway, I would have to get in touch with him and ask him. So, let's see. I will remind everybody, if you've got questions, drop them in the chat. I'm not going to do last call yet, but it is coming. You've got a new website.
We do, and I'm so happy about that. Goodbye, Etsy.
You left Etsy.
We did. We left them in the dust. We left
After
them with the luggage
years.
on the side of the road.
You gave Etsy 5 years of your life, and now you're gone.
Yep, and not even as much as a phone call afterwards. So, we are happy to be gone. The new Shopify site has been gorgeous. We've got some really cool customization things we're able to do. And with a little bit of magic luck and a little bit of pixie dust, we've been able to get it exactly where we want it to be. We're still building the product pages and going to be migrating the actual catalog over. But as far as the functioning store, terms and conditions, all of that stuff, that is there. It's done. I've got a couple learning curves to kind of figure out with the drop scheduling and all that. But it's been wonderful. So our new Shopify site is shop.xenocat-artifacts.com. You can see a lot of that there. We typically have a pretty good stock of toys available to purchase too. So I think we currently have 500 products up there. So when we're not traveling to conventions, we will list our convention stock on the site as well as our normal drop stuff. So we have a lot to choose from, and we've got some cool Black Friday sales and stuff coming up. So just keep an eye out for that if there's anything that you've been eyeballing.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the Etsy debacle?
We don't talk about Bruno. No, we can talk about it.
Well, did you get caught up in it? Did you get caught up in any of that? All of the listings that were delisted?
No, we actually jumped ship 2 weeks before all that started going down. So that was a really lucky break because we had a lot of listings on there. We had it was the same thing that we're doing now. We had 400 listings sometimes on there, and it probably would have been a nightmare. So we got out just in time, and I'm glad. Heart goes out to a lot of the other stores that were impacted by that, because even though a lot of these Etsy listings were able to come back, a lot of people had to get a lot of appeals and really push for that. And that doesn't mean it's not going to happen again, because if it's been flagged once, it'll probably get flagged again. So we're definitely happy to share any of the apps that we've been using for ease of access, stuff like that. If people have any Shopify questions, I'm no resident expert, but I can definitely try to point you in the right direction. I want to see everyone do well and be able to grow and not be on a platform that's so aggressively kind of declining. So It's got some great things about it, but it was time.
I'm not going to say I'm an Etsy fanboy, but I think that Etsy does bring a lot to the table.
It does.
And I think a lot of that gets forgotten sometimes. Yes, the fees are high, but for what they bring to the table, I don't think it's outrageous. I managed to evade the delistings for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then I got caught up in it. I just reached out to him on chat. I just said, I think this is a mistake, and they escalated it. I got an email the next day. Yeah, it was a mistake, and they put all my stuff back up. So it wasn't a big deal for me. But none of my stuff is realistic or animal inspired or fantasy inspired. All of my stuff is very abstract. So it was very easy for me to draw a line and say that, there's nothing about this that could be even considered pornographic or anything else.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for me to make that appeal. And Asher was saying, did not hear about this. What happened? Basically, Etsy went through and did a mass delisting of a bunch of products. And they didn't ban any of the stores. They just went through and delisted products. And folks had to either move off of Etsy or they had to appeal. And some people appealed. Some people didn't win their appeal. Some people did win their appeal. And some people just moved off of Etsy. And, but yeah. No, I think Etsy gets a bad rap sometimes. But then Etsy does some stupid stuff sometimes. And they should be taken to task for some of the crap they do.
And I know we had like our little, Shopify is great. Every platform has its positives and negatives, and Etsy definitely got us a lot of traction and stuff that we needed when we first started. And it works for a lot of stores that are brand new. It works for a lot of stores that are seasoned. It really depends on your needs and wants and like the nature of your work. So I know I kind of was like raw Etsy, but we had our issues with a couple things, and like it can still be a really fantastic platform for the people that want to use it. So I don't want to be super negative about all that too. So
yeah, I think Etsy is wonderful for people who are just getting started. If you don't have an audience, if you have no audience and you're just getting started, Etsy has millions of people that they can shove your stuff at. And there's no way you can get that audience on your own. And
no, you have to build a following to even get up to that. And so Etsy's great about getting your name out there and kind of getting you that traction and visibility that normal marketing doesn't, just because a lot of us are super reliant on social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. So
yeah. And that takes a long time to build up. And you can't do advertising on Google, Facebook, or any of the social media platforms, like paid advertising. So, it's, anyway, not to beat on that too much. So what is on your studio playlist? What are you listening to in the studio?
A little bit of everything all of the time. So sometimes we have a little bit of Bo Burnham come on. Sometimes we've got a lot of EDM. We've got alt, indie. We pretty much do everything but like really heavy lyrics or country. I just can't do country. I can't. I like bluegrass, stuff like that. I never was able to get into country, but we pretty much listen to a nice variety outside of that. Also, we do like to listen to other podcasts sometimes too. One of my favorites being Distractable. Thanks, Markiplier, for being insanely entertaining, and I end up chuckling along with most of the podcasts there. So you've probably seen some of our videos go up on our Twitter. You can hear Mark talking in the background, and it's like, that poor boy doesn't even know that he's being like listened to and maybe even showcased through a dildo company. That would be yet another debacle probably to blow up that I'd be like, oh my God. No, but we like listening to a lot of stuff like that.
What are your favorite podcasts? I mean, you mentioned... Oh, go ahead.
So, mainly I've done Distractable into I've listened to a couple like audiobooks and stuff like that too. A lot of Neil Gaiman, stuff like that, American Gods. So it's a big toss up between like podcasts and audiobooks. I've listened to a couple of the episodes that you've had dropped. It's been really, really cool. I've mainly done the YouTube videos though, because I like having visuals that I can kind of peek at from time to time. Yeah. So not a ton, but we do have a nice little list.
I like 99% Invincible. That's a good one. That one's about design. Snap Judgment is another good one. Was it My Favorite Murder? Is a good one. Yeah, I do like my podcasts. So, yeah. And I hate to say it, I do like a little bit of country, but it's a very specific window. And it's like 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, Johnny
Dolly.
Cash. Okay, Shania Twain. Getting maybe up into like maybe late 80s, early 90s, but, can't get much past that.
I can second that.
Window. Yeah.
I can second that. Much love for Dolly. So no, I think I can get in on those too. So
yeah.
9 to 5 is one of my favorite, like, stumble out of bed and get into the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn, stretching, trying to come to life. Nothing gets me hustling in the shop more than that. So, yeah, I gotta say, I'll agree with those.
Yeah, Ben, the man in black, Johnny Cash. You gotta love him. Let's see. What is the most unexpected tool in your shop? What is the most odd tool that you use in your shop?
We've got a lot. We are kind of a bunch of MacGyvers thrown into a melting pot when it comes to figuring out solutions. If it's a standard solution, it's probably never going to happen. I can definitely say one of our biggest innovators is one of my shop associates, Humboldt. I almost dropped a name there. Whoops. So Humboldt is my chaos gremlin that if we need something made, it's gonna happen come hell or high water, whether I want to approve buying a high-speed pottery wheel and I say no, and he goes, well, I'll make one on my own. And I'm like, if you can get it to work, I'll reimburse you for it, but it's got to show that this is going to be applicable to the workshop and that you're allowed to make it. I don't want silicone on my ceiling. So I think one of my favorite tools that was ever invented was by Humboldt. I said no to a pottery wheel, so he said, okay, I'm gonna make one myself. So he found a Lazy Susan that's on like ball bearings, so it's like really slick Lazy Susan. And then he bought a potato basket, like a wire potato basket, and he had taken this Lazy Susan and drilled holes all around it, mounted this potato basket with zip ties, and he took like tin snips and trimmed out different parts. And in the top of it, he actually made a mold rest that you could sit any size mold. We could even put our whole pura in it. And he's got bungee cords that reinforce how the pura sits. And you can spin this thing at Mach speed. And it's like, I should have just approved the pottery wheel. But you know what? It actually works beautifully. And I was like, all right, you win. I'll go ahead and reimburse your paycheck for that one. We'll go ahead and get that in there. So we have a Mach speed potato basket. We use nail tools and a lot, if you've ever seen the little manicure tools for putting little gemstones and stuff, we use a lot of that for hand painting. We actually don't use support shells with our toys at all. We just do a glove mold method with a bit of a thick brim at the bottom, and we actually support all of our molds in a wire rack. So those metal shelves that you see in a lot of closets, we took those and we actually had tin snipped out custom sizes, and it's a giant mold support rack that's mounted to the wall. We can hold up to about 30 molds at a time in one rack. We're never pouring more than 30 at a time. God, that's a lot. But if we have multiple batches, we can go from one batch to the next batch to the next batch.
Yeah.
And so we actually use the wire shelves in a different series of that to kind of hang all over molds, so everything's kind of supported. So it's a lot of different things. I think the potato spinner of doom is probably my favorite, and it taught me a valuable lesson that day that I am not to question the ingenuity of my staff. They're very brilliant people.
Spinner of doom. That's
I'll
going
have
into
to
the
get
chat.
a video and put that probably on our Twitter at some point. Just be like, look at this stuff. This is what we get to do. Yeah, it's been awesome. So.
Okay. Oh, jeez. Let's see. Ishtar, with everything going on with Twitter, can we find you on any of the other socials?
So I had made an Instagram a while ago, and me trying to manage a bunch of different things at once, I kind of just have it as a placeholder for now. We're probably going to be more active on Instagram. One of my other associates is like Instagram aficionado, so we're going to see if she wants to help us run some of the social media marketing there. We are going to be pushing to get our newsletters and everything active too on our website. So if let's say all hell breaks loose and everything explodes, you can still find us through our actual website, and we're going to have a email list and everything set up. You'll get some exclusive deals there. We've got some like new subscriber specials, stuff like that. So currently it's just Instagram and Twitter. We do still have our old Tumblr handle. We may or may not revisit that. I'll be sure to announce that, though. It just depends on what we're able to actually do.
Gotcha. I'm curious what's going to happen with Twitter. I don't know if it's a slow motion dumpster fire or what's going to happen. Or are we just going to carve out our little section here that we just kind of keep doing what we're doing and ignore everything else?
You know, I think with the mutual support of so many awesome stores and everything like that, we're kind of able to kind of get our names out there and circulate and support each other up too. So I'm really excited about that. I got to say, this community has been fantastic. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Twitter. The slow motion dumpster fire, I think, is how it started, and I think that's going to be how it ends. It was just really slow motion when we first started. We didn't notice, but I'm just not a big fan of most social medias, like, to begin with. I've got various like pages because I like to really section out parts of my life. So like my leatherworking has a strict site. My digital art has a very strict one. That way people can only subscribe to what they want to see, and it's nice and easy. I'm very compartmental when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers. I think it will blow over. I really feel that Twitter is heavily reliant on a lot of companies and stuff, and I think that's ultimately going to be the thing that may make or break Twitter when it comes down to impacting livelihoods. I think there's going to be a big pushback if that happens. So
a lot of the big companies have stopped or have put a lot of their advertising dollars on hold. So that's going to have a big impact fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to do last call for questions. So if you have any, get them into the chat. And we will get those in before we shut it all down. But I've got a few that these are my questions that I like to stick in my back pocket because they're my fun ones. What artists inspire you? We talked about H.R. Geiger or Giger. I've never known how to pronounce his name either. But we talked about him. Who else? Who else do you draw inspiration from?
So I've had a couple like local friends that I've respected for a long time through my creative process. I was super into Mass Effect, still am. I still love Mass Effect. It's one of my all-time favorite series. I think my intro into getting inspired to try to do the prosthetics was a good friend of mine called the Mad Masker. I think she goes by Snakecraft Magic now on Instagram and stuff like that. She did a lot of the Arie like latex headpieces a long time ago, and I can't wear them anymore because my allergies got too bad. But gotta say, Aubrey's been a big inspiration. I take a lot of inspiration from local people more so than like celebrities. I'm really dependent on like face-to-face interactions and stuff. So I don't have too many like celebrity role models. I will say I adore any of Del Toro's work. I always thought Doug Jones is awesome, and like I followed him throughout his like travels because he went to like mime school and all kinds of other stuff, and like how he's able to wear and portray the art is fascinating. I've had people like Miss Monster that I'm just like, holy cow, I'd love to get to like doing that kind of sculpture, that kind of stuff. Geiger has always been a big one for me. Anything in like the Aliens franchise, Prometheus,
right.
Gosh, it's just a lot of different things. I don't say there's any like one particular name and like particular name in particular. You know what I mean? There's not like one specific person that's like really guided it, but just a lot of little things. Moby. Not that one. I will say I definitely liked a lot of the Walking Dead stuff, like up until about season 5, and then we're done with that. Let's see. Just a lot of cool films, like The Thing, when The Thing came out, and even like the newer The Thing remixes, really found that fascinating. Was it the James Cameron King Kong, the one that had Jack Black in it and Adrian Brody? Really liked that kind of film too, and how that was shot, and like the different critter designs and all that. Jurassic Park, big one. So yeah, just lots of various things that kind of stuck with me. I was a huge dinosaur kid when I was a kid. I used to run in a velociraptor squad. So you have horse girls, you have wolf kids, and then you had me running around like this in recess, screeching and chasing like the same 3 people for like 4 years of my life. So yeah, Avatar was a big one too. The James Cameron Avatar, just the storyline was fascinating, not super in depth, but like the spectacles in the world of Pandora, stuff like that, just chef kiss. It was gorgeous. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see The Way of Water pretty soon. And yeah, I think that's just going to be super cool. I think that's coming out sometime early December, mid-December currently. So.
Since I've been doing a lot of videos and things like that, I've been paying a lot more attention to things that I never paid attention to before in movies, like editing. How a movie is edited, how it's put together, and it's fascinating when you start thinking about the choices that are made, and the vision of the producer and the just the how the producer and the director mold that story and produce what you see on the screen. So I've been diving into editing lately, but anyway, nothing. You just went through a whole bunch of movies there, and I was thinking about how they were shot and editing and all the things, and I was like, there was some of them was just so beautiful, like Avatar and all the things. But
a couple noteworthy ones to me. Did you see the movie called Klaus on Netflix? It was released, I think, like
I don't think so.
A year and a half ago. So it's a Christmas movie, and well, Christmas light. It's got notes of like Santa Claus and stuff, but it was drawn to look like 3D, but it's all 2D animation, and it won a ton of awards for it. If you want to see something stunning and a beautiful movie too, like it's got tear-jerking moments, it's great characters. New favorite film to watch when the seasons come around, but the animation in that was stunning. The new Pinocchio movie that Del Toro just did is chef kiss. It's all stop motion. Same thing with Coraline. Got a huge respect for the stop motion stuff in particular, because it's got its own charm to it, and if done well, it is an unbelievable amount of effort to get something like that, and like the puppetry and all of that is so cool.
Yeah. Fiery is all about your makeup this evening.
Thank you.
Let's see. I have not gotten any other questions in the chat, so I'm going to wrap up with the last couple of questions I've got. And by the way, if you've got any questions for me, you are more than welcome to ask me anything. What about your friends and family? Do they know? Are they supportive? Are they okay with what you do?
Yes. It was really interesting when I first started back in 2017 because I was managing a 600 space storage unit at the time. And that's a very one-person job. I did like liens and closures, and I worked like making sure that everything was audit ready. And I drove a golf cart around, and I'd do little burnout wheelies, and I was just like kind of going crazy. And you know, I did a lot of cleaning, a lot of walking, but it was a really chill job. I decided I kind of just wanted to go full time with Xenocat about that point because I was trying to juggle both. And I realized when I would go to the shop or when I'd go to the office and I'd sit there for an hour, I was like, I could be home and making 3 times as much money. And I think it was that moment that I was like, I should go. I should just run, like, let me out of the cage. I'm just going to run down the street like a dog that just got out. But like, I was just like, I should leave. And so I did. And I remembered I told my family, I was like, I'm going to go full time with Xenocat. And they were like, you sure? Like, are you going to be able to eat off that? Because my parents love me. They want to make sure that, you know,
yeah,
I'm not going to starve and, you know, do anything crazy. And I was like, no, I really think this is going to be a big thing. And I'm stubborn to a fault. I am insanely hard-headed. And I've learned over the years how to kind of yield that and turn it into like something I can be proud of and not just something that gets in my way. So after I kind of learned how to work with that stubbornness and tenacity, I was like, no, I'm going to make this work. And it did. It, you know, you just kind of put into it and not lose focus. But the whole family, after they realized when I stepped out of a full-time job with a 401k and stuff to make dildos for a living, they were like, it's working? And I was like, it's working. And so I think the big thing was when The Shape of Water went live. My grandpa, recently deceased-ish, he had died of cancer within the last several years. He was very unsure if it was going to be there. And I remember like the day that I got to call him and be like, I got interviewed on GQ. And he was like, GQ, because that rung a bell. That touched base with something he could associate with. And he's like, so you did it? And I was like, I did it. Like, so it was really cool to kind of deliver the news. And like grandparents have been super supportive. Family's been super supportive. Like we've made like toy bags. My grandmother actually makes toy bags. So if you ever got like the hand sewn ones from us, she made them. She knows what they're for. My mom is very talented with like chemical stuff and all that. And like we actually were able to develop our own line of toy cleaners that are like compliant with everything. So like the whole family has been nothing but great. I think my favorite story with that, my dad plays fantasy football. So he's got a little fantasy football league, and he worked up on like one of the higher ends of one of the companies that were local. And they made a bet that whoever lost the fantasy football league and whoever won, the person who won got to dictate what everyone would change their usernames or stuff for the fantasy football league for like the next 2 weeks. And so he decided to be tongue-in-cheek, and he actually changed his to our website. It says xenocatartifacts.com or whatever. And so he actually won. And so all of these bigwigs in the company that he worked with had to change their usernames to our website, which deferred all these people to fantasy dildos. And I tell you what, I couldn't stop laughing. That was one of the funniest things. I'm like, you did not. And he's like, I did. And I was like, oh my God. So we got some interesting takes from that. And so yeah, no, family's been more than supportive. I couldn't ask for a better group and better just family in general. I love them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Aninra is asking, would you share a funny story from one of your cons? Or now I also, the question I like to close with, and maybe we can combine these two. The question I love to close with is, tell me about an epic fail.
I've got a couple. I'm trying to think of how personal I want to take this because I'm still kind of blind in one eye from one whoopsie. I'll touch very quick base on some of these. We like to take the silicone remnants and we love to throw them on the ceiling. We just go, oh, flap, 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 and we just stick it to the ceiling, and then we look at it, like geese staring at the rain or turkeys staring at the rain, and then it comes down and it hits one of us and we laugh and we go about doing our stuff. We're very easy to entertain. I think one of my favorite fails, I was sitting with Nocturne, one of my associates in the shop, and we had a big flappy disc that came out of the bottom of a bucket. And so I was taking turns throwing stuff at the ceiling, and he was like, he had it flat in his palm and he's like trying to stick it above the door frame to our other side of the workshop. And I'm standing in said door frame and I'm just talking. And he reels back because it was a big piece of silicone. He had to make sure he threw it real hard. And he just beams me about 3 feet away in the face. And I just like couldn't see out of one eye. And I'm just like, holy cow.
Oh, no.
So like he tried to send me to Jesus that day. And so that was great. I think one of my other favorite fails was pouring a Pura, and it just fell through the support rack. It just went, and so it landed on its side. The silicone's just like blah, coming out, and we're all like freaking out. We pick it up, and I have Humboldt helping me, and we get it all back in there. And I think Humboldt was the one that initially catch it, like when it fell, and like I may have been helping. Either way, this Pura fell through and it was just going everywhere, and we picked it back up and got it settled. We didn't lose like much silicone at all. It wasn't even short poured. Like when it came out, I was like, holy cow. And it came out fine. The pour was perfect.
Say, like, did it come out looking like mud?
It came out looking great. Nothing moved. Like half the toy, I swear, was on the table. There was no inclusions. There was nothing. And it's probably one of my favorite fails. Man, yeah, there's been a couple. I think one of our favorite fails that we turned into something cool is I had a batch that I made that was like black drips over a really cool like neon kind of fiery color, and it was stunning. But I had done too much ease release on the inside, and so the drips had like those really fine little lines around them that were not DLAM marks, but they could be. I didn't know the extent. So we had to like pull the whole batch and put it in the flop area. And Humboldt was like, hey, could we like put a toy inside of another toy? I was like, I mean, they do inclusions for other things. There's no reason that we couldn't like really wash this puppy up, boil it, get it ready. So like we treated it, and we actually supported a small... we put a Rakana inside of our large Xenocat, and it looked like a lava lamp dick, so it was like a dick and a dick. I think if we do it again, we're going to try to go for triple, and it'll be a turdicken, kind of like the... So I think that might be our next thing we do, but it was a nice way to recycle a flop. We sold it as an art piece at Denver. We held on to it for like 5 months to make sure it was even stable. So, you know, sometimes we can turn some of those trashes into treasures, and it was really kind of a cool experience. So, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Oh, okay. I always love those kind of my face is like cramping. It's like making me laugh so hard. Arie, I have had so much fun. I've had a blast. I'm going to throw links to at least your Twitter and everything. I have noticed that YouTube doesn't like links to certain websites sometimes. I can get away with Twitter, so I'll make sure that I throw a link to your Twitter in the description so everybody can jump over there. Looking forward to the turdicken.
I'm committed now, I guess. We gotta do the worst thing possible, so we'll get there.
Yeah. But I have had a blast. Thank you so much. And hopefully we can do this again sometime.
You know, it would be a pleasure. Like, this has been so much fun. I love the interview, and yes, if you'd ever like to have us back, more than happy. We can get up to some shenanigans or whatever you'd like to do. No, it's been an absolute blast, and I really want to thank you for hosting and for everyone coming to chat with us today. Again, thank you.
Sure. All right. Well, Wave, say goodnight, and I'll do a quick outro, and then you and I will catch up in just a minute.
Awesome. Right? Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for chatting with the cat.
All right, everybody. That had so much fun with Arie tonight. Yeah. So. You can find Arie on Twitter. I'm going to put a link in the video description, and you can get to them there. I will remind everybody that we do have a Patreon. You can support us that way. Patreon.com/Amavidi, AMAVIDI. And you cannot find us. You cannot find us through the app. Because we're 18 plus, you can't find us through the app. So you got to go to the website. Anyway, with that, I am out. And I'll catch you next week. Bye.